everybody. Welcome to another episode of College Town Talk. I'm Jonathan Frank, and joining me for the last time, at least for now, is my guest co-host and friend, Susan Luna Hazelwood, the Executive Director of Tennessee Tech's Crawford Alumni Center. And Susan, we are excited to welcome Shan back after today's episode, but this has been a lot of fun. Thank you for doing this.
Absolutely. Thank you for asking me. I've had a great time. I love getting to chat with all these wonderful people and always love spending time with you. So glad to be here.
Well, it's been a lot of fun for me too. And I want to say, it's I've learned professionally in work, it's great to have mentors. It's great to have, mentees and to pour into the next generation. But it's also really fun to have peers that are that are friends and that cheer you on. You've always done that for me. And I really appreciate you.
Thank you. That's a wonderful thing to say. And I completely agree. Yes.
Well, and I want to just talk real quickly before we introduce our guests about, because we have some breaking news. We don't do this a lot on the podcast, but the Crawford Alumni Center, you've got your Evening of Excellence Awards coming up in September, and you have graciously agreed to here for the first time announce our 2026 Alumni Award winners.
Yes. Thank you for the opportunity to announce them on this podcast. We're very excited. They all have been notified, so it's not a surprise to any of them, but everyone else, this will be the first time anyone's hearing it. So we have 6 alumni awards this year. We've actually added 2 new awards for the first time this year. Our distinguished alumni is Dr. Tom Collins. Our outstanding service award will be Mr. Tim Tucker. Our outstanding young alumni is Amy Blaylock New. Our outstanding philanthropy award will go to Dr. Jean and Mrs. Joe Palmer. And the 2 new awards, the first one is the Alumni Employee Excellence Award, which will go to Dr. Robert Owens. And then we have an Alumni Association Corporate Excellence Award, which will go to ATC Automation.
Well, that's so exciting. Congratulations to the winners. And what's cool about that is that I would think everybody who listens to this podcast probably knows at least a couple of those names.
Yes.
And, for me, the 2 that I've had a chance to know and that we've interviewed on this show are Amy and Dr. Rob. I'm so happy for them. I've heard great things about each of these winners. I know that Dr. Collins actually also has a podcast, just interviewed Butch Wilmore on his show.
Yes.
So I'm looking forward to listening to that. But that's exciting. You can get your tickets to the Evening of Excellence Awards gala, I believe, at tntech.edu/alumni.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And it's coming up, September 19th?
September 19th.
19th.
That's right.
So everybody get your tickets. But Susan, we are ending your time as guest co-host on a high note, because today's guest is none other than 2-time Tennessee Tech graduate and president of the Tennessee Tech Football Quarterback Club, Sam Brooks. And Sam has been an educator in the Upper Cumberland for more than 30 years, ranging from his early days as a biology teacher at Cookeville High School and Upperman High School to his role today as Upper Cumberland Regional Director for Volunteer State Community College. He's also a former sports host for WCTE and Stonecom Radio, continuing a passion that took hold during his years playing football for Tennessee Tech as a student athlete, and that continues today as one of Tech football's most visible supporters. So we're so happy to have him here. Sam, welcome to College Town Talk.
Thank you, guys. It's great to be here with you today.
Well, we've got a lot we want to ask you about, but let's start with the Quarterback Club, because that's fairly new, might not be something that all of our listeners are familiar with, but I know that as president of the club and as a former Tech football player yourself, it's something that you've really helped spearhead. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, it was something that kind of developed from, I've been the chairman of the Tennessee Tech Reunion Weekend, which includes a golf tournament, for the last 8 years. And as Coach Wilder came in, he had the idea of starting a quarterback club. And, he's been here 2 years now, and it takes a little time to get some things going. And so it took him a little bit of time to get the idea, generated and out there, and thought process from some other folks that he wanted to be involved. And he asked me to be the president of the quarterback club this first year. And, of course, that's an honor for me. I'm a big supporter of Tech football, have been, ever since I graduated. Tennessee Tech, holds a really nice place in my heart for giving me the opportunities that I've had throughout my life, and any way that I can give back and support student athletes that are in the same place that I was when I was at Tennessee Tech is something that's real close to my heart.
Thank you for sharing that. When I first started in this role, of course, I work in fundraising at Tech, and was very involved in the athletic portion of it when I first started. And Sam Brooks was one of the first people. Everyone was like, you need to go talk to Sam because he knows all about football and that'll get you going on fundraising for football. And I did. I was able to meet with you shortly after I started here, which was fantastic. And I also just want to thank you for all your work as a volunteer and with the Quarterback Club. It has grown tremendously since you have gotten involved. I mean, you've been involved from the beginning, but since you took on this official chair role and have really been pushing it, it really shows the impact that volunteers can have on something like this.
Yeah, no doubt. And it all starts with, you got to have a lead person. And, Coach Wilder has done such a good job of knowing what he wants to do for the program. And that has resonated. He's not afraid to go out and do things like this, to talk to folks, to go to luncheons, to ask for things. Sometimes you just have to ask.
That's right.
And he's really done a good job of doing that. So he's a motivating factor within himself of having someone in that position. And, folks around the football program for many years have been asking for a winner. Yes. And that was one of the excuses not to support some programs at Tennessee Tech. In this particular situation, the football program, although we do have a very storied history in football at Tennessee Tech that we're proud of, but recently probably didn't do as good as we wanted to do. That can't be an excuse anymore. Right. 2 seasons, 1-7-5, and then 11-2 last year. He's got the winning thing going in, and that really probably is the key component. It's not really anything that I've done. I've just been helping along the way. But winning is contagious, and people see that, and they want to be involved with it. And I think that's kind of what's led itself to creating the Quarterback Club and having it grow into what it is today. And I hope, 6 months, 1 year from now, will be double or more than what it is at the moment.
Absolutely. And as you mentioned, we've had 2 really great seasons in football, and we are preparing to join the Southern Conference this year, and we're going to start the 26th season with a brand new stadium. So a lot of really exciting things happening. And as we are preparing for all of those things and we start the 26th season, this is kind of an interesting question. And when Jonathan actually wrote it, I'll give him full credit, but I loved it. And it's, why do you think football is so important to the overall success of a university like Tech?
Well, Dr. Oldham says it better than anybody else. It's the porch to the mansion. And what I mean by that, it's the most visibly noticed and seen program, and it starts at the first of the year in the fall. So when folks come in, a lot of what you hear about as far as, promotions is about the football games. And it's really the beginning factor that brings students together at the universities. And so it is the porch to the mansion. So if you have a mansion and you have a front porch, that's an important part of the mansion and where everybody steps across to come into the mansion. And so I love how he really, got that thought process out there as far as being the president of Tennessee Tech and understanding that it is important. Is it any more important than any of the other programs? I mean, it depends on what you love and what you want to be a part of. But it is definitely a component that can help to bring more students into Tennessee Tech and is more visualized than some of the other programs that are at Tennessee Tech. So I love how he really said that and in front of many people at different speaking engagements that he's been involved in, is it being the front porch to the mansion. I don't think you could say it any better.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head, and I have to confess, I'm sure you'll be shocked to know I was not an athlete. My football literacy was low, but President Oldham and Coach Wilder and people like you, I would include Diane Murphy in this too, have really helped make this case that a strong football program at Tech it's an enrollment driver. It brings visibility and prestige to the university. It's good for for the community, for economic development. This stadium is really going to be the Upper Cumberland's entertainment venue. Yes. And so, even if you're like me and you go to the games just for the food and the fellowship, there's still great reason to care and to pay attention here, and just appreciate all that people like you are doing to call attention to that. But I want to talk about your years in the classroom, because you spent more than a decade teaching at both Cookeville High School and Upperman High School, and I find this very interesting. This could have been the focal point of the interview here, because in addition to coaching nearly a half dozen sports and teaching biology, you also taught driver's ed.
Yes.
And I just that tells me everything right there. It's, you have great patience. You're probably okay with a little bit of risk. So I have to imagine you have some really good stories about that.
Oh, there's no doubt. I could probably go on for a couple of shows talking about the risks of driver's education, but it is something. We've since then we've kind of lost. We actually have in Putnam County schools anyway. We've taken it from a physical class at the school level to a virtual class, and then after they complete the virtual class through the Vital program, which I used to work at, they're able to get with a driving instructor and complete their time all free. To the students in Putnam County. So it's changed a little bit. In the old days, we used to have a dedicated classroom, and one of us, it would be a teacher pair. One of us would drive that block, and the other would teach the class. And so we'd alternate that. But we've had some pretty scary moments in the driver's ed car. Sometimes kids can fool you. You think they're a little bit further ahead in skills than what they really are. And then you get them out on the road and you realize that pretty quickly. So lots of good stories there, but I made it through, luckily, never had a collision or a wreck. And I did feel like it's one of those life skills. It's something that an educator can teach that sticks with a student for the rest of their life. Personal finance is offered and mandated in Putnam County school system. That's kind of the same type of class. They're going to use it the rest of their life. So as an educator and as a teacher, those are the classes that you want to teach.
Well, I love that, and I think that's important. Those life skills. At Tech, I know in the general education curriculum, they're now incorporating. I think you have to take 6 hours of either financial literacy or digital literacy. And
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I know. I wish it's like, can I go take a
remedial
course?
That would be great.
Can you audit that one?
I know. So Jonathan and Shan have interviewed a lot of successful alumni on this podcast over the years, and sometimes they'll ask about big career decisions and how they knew when it was time to make a change. So I'm going to ask you that question. When you were going from the classroom to a leadership role over the entire Putnam County school system, was that a hard choice to trade classroom teaching for administrator role?
No, I think everything kind of runs its course, and at some point in time, you're ready for a change. I guess the biggest change for me was getting out of coaching after 17 years and coaching all the sports that I did, and making that leap of faith over into administration, because it is very different, and you don't know what you don't know. So you think you have an idea of it's like when I was an offensive coordinator at Cookville High School, and then I got my first head coaching job at Upper High School. I thought I knew everything I needed to know from being an offensive coordinator about being a head coach, and I found out very quickly that I did not. I'm very glad I did that, but once you make that change, your base beliefs and work ethic has to be enough for the job you're leaving and the job that you're going into, and no one ever really knows what they're getting into until you get into it. You just got to make a good decision that that's what you want to do, and make the move as boldly as you can.
Well, I'm looking at the clock here and was hoping we'd have time for an extra question before we get to our two final questions, and I think we will. So when you talk about going to work for the county, part of your time there was during the pandemic and during that transition to virtual learning. So you're working for the Putnam County school system, and suddenly all of these schools and these students are making a big change here with little advance notice. What were some of the lessons learned from that time in your career? What was, now that some years have passed, what was that experience like for you?
Well, we're very blessed and lucky in Putnam County to have the Vital program, which I was the supervisor of at that time, because we started back in 2009 with some virtual learning and trying to figure out where that fit in education of students. So we were way down that path, when COVID hit, and we actually had a plan, for virtual learning already developed. And so we didn't know it was going to hit, of course, and it hit very quickly. And kids went from the classroom to working completely from home. And we were lucky enough to have that Vital team already assembled. We were doing something called personalized learning as a district that time. So we had personalized learning teams at each school. And we used those personalized learning teams to reach out to teachers to help them in the ed tech needs that they had, because every teacher, was not versed in how to use technology and to teach from technology. But we had a core team all across the district set up to be able to help them do that. So we didn't experience as much learning loss as a lot of other districts did. And we tend to not have as many kids leaving Putnam County right now as other districts do. That's the biggest problem in education right now, is students leaving to go to homeschool or other opportunities. And so we've been lucky in Putnam County not to be able to have to worry about that. But COVID was a huge education for everybody. We didn't realize we could do some of the things that we could do. And once teachers stuck their toe in the water of using technology in the classroom, they found out that it could really help them excel their classroom and their teaching. And I think so in that way, there has been some benefits from COVID, even though it was terrible. We had to change our lifestyles at that time. There have been some good benefits from what happened and the reactions that we had to, really manifest from what happened at that time.
It takes me back to in 2020. I remember my sister at the time was a kindergarten teacher. And trying to teach kindergarten over Zoom, I think it was not for the faint of heart.
Yeah.
But kudos to our teachers and our educators and the faculty and staff at Tech who navigated all of that.
Mm-hmm.
But Sam, I am a Sumner County native, so I am a fan of Vol State Community College. Always appreciated what it meant to the community there in Gallatin. Had a lot of friends who attended there. But these days, Vol State has multiple campuses, including here in Cookeville and in Livingston. And you are helping to deepen its impact across the Upper Cumberland. And, I think people might think of Vol State and Tennessee Tech as competitors in some way, but we also work closely with you and your team to support students who finish at Vol State and wish to transfer to Tech to earn their four-year degree. So what can you tell us about your role with Vol State and how you see our two institutions working together?
Well, I mean, you kind of said everything that I really wanted to talk about in that question. But I'm glad to hear that, because I think in the past, maybe it has been seen as a competition. I don't see it as a competition with Tennessee Tech at all. There's ways that we can work together, and I'm going to throw TCAT in there too. And students' expectations have changed over time. So when I went into the counseling office as a freshman, I was told if you want to do anything in your life, you need to go to college. You need to go to a four-year institution so you could build that, get your degree, and then over the course of time, your pay is going to be more and more as you go forward in your jobs. Today, we can't really say that. There's students that are getting certifications in high school that can lead to jobs right out of high school that are very good paying jobs. And so it's changed. But the key thing that I've seen over time as I've worked in Putnam County and now I'm working with Vol State, that student who goes into the job force right after high school, when they get there and they're a good employee and they want to move forward in their employment, they end up going to a TCAT or they end up going to Vol State. And then after that, if they continue to want to improve in their job, then they might come to Tennessee Tech. So they're getting to the same place as we did, when we went into a four-year college. It's just a different way of entering it. And so it's great to see that. And all of us, TCAT, Vol State, and Tennessee Tech play a role in creating that opportunity for those students wherever they are on their pathway. And we see a lot of students that go out and work for a little while and then come back. So there's all kinds of ways to find students. There's a lot of students out there that don't decide to come to higher education immediately that we can all draw from. So there's plenty of clients, plenty of students out there for all of us. And I think we get a lot further down the line with them and support them better if we work together. So I'm looking at it just the same way Tennessee Tech is. It's a partnership. We want to be a partner. The students are out there, and we can work together. And wherever they need to be, we can help them get to where they want to be as far as a career.
I think you said it just right about working together. We had, right before we spoke with you, we talked with Dr. Nancy Hamilton from Roane State Community College, and we told her, we've got Sam Brooks coming in, your Vol State, your competitor, and she said, no, we're sister institutions, we're partners, we're all working together.
Agreed.
And so I think that's so important. And just a shameless plug as we're talking about this, for those transfer students, for the folks at Vol State or Roane State looking to come to Tech, apply by May 1st and get that Flight to Tech transfer scholarship, guaranteed scholarship of up to $3,000 a year to help you with your studies at Tech.
Good plug. Good plug.
Yeah, I actually hadn't heard that one yet. So that's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, no doubt.
I think it's just really quickly, you mentioned people coming out of high school with all these new certifications. I'm so surprised every time I hear about there's nursing certifications that you can get in high school now, and they're just already preparing themselves for whatever step they want to take next. And then that can go into any of these schools. It's very different from when we were in high school.
Yeah, it's amazing.
as it always is.
Yeah, and I'll give you a quick example. So my daughter, she went to Cookeville High School. She got a CNA and a CMA. Her junior and senior year, she walked right into Tennessee Tech, and now she got accepted into the nursing program. She's a sophomore physically, but a junior with credits.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's amazing.
So, yeah, it's amazing. And I didn't have that when I was in school. We didn't have anything like that. But that shows you what they can do.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations to your daughter. That's
Thank
exciting.
you.
All right. So finally, we always end each interview on this podcast with the same question. What is one way that Tennessee Tech has impacted your life?
Well, that's a good one. I mean, I owe a lot to Tennessee Tech, and I'll even go Cookeville High School, my education career. When I was looking to go to college, I was looking to go play football. That was the only thing that was in my head. And I was 5'9", 135 pounds coming out of high school. And my sophomore year, I didn't think I had any opportunity to play college football. And as it turns out, I had several offers coming out of Cookeville High School and chose Tennessee Tech. My mother was a 30-year employee at Tennessee Tech in food services. She was supervisor of food services. So I grew up at Tennessee Tech. So it's kind of a no-brainer. Even though I had other offers, Tennessee Tech was my home. And so you don't realize as a college athlete when you come in because you're a big fish in a small pond, and all of a sudden you become a small fish in a big pond. And so you don't realize what you're getting out of the education that you're getting. And luckily for me, while I was at Tennessee Tech, I realized that. And I realized how important it was for me to graduate, that I wasn't going to be able to play football the rest of my life, although I really enjoyed my time at Tennessee Tech. And then I started looking back on the folks in my life that meant something, and in making my decision on what I wanted to do in my life, it was teachers and coaches that made a huge difference in my life. And so that's why I decided to be an educator, is because of what they did for me. And then you look at Tennessee Tech and what Tennessee Tech did for me. That's responsible for where I am right now. The education I got at Tennessee Tech gave me the start that I needed. It gave me the people, my mentors that would help me get to my first job. And then from there, it's up to the person to take that over and move on. And I did. But it just means so much to me to have graduated from Tennessee Tech in my hometown, and then my career to turn out the way it has turned out.
That's wonderful. I love hearing about Cookeville High School graduates choosing tech. It makes me very happy. Sam, thank you so much for being our guest today on College Town Talk. We appreciate you being here.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
And to all of our listeners, if you are enjoying our show and hearing from Tennessee Tech football alumni and supporters like Sam Brooks, would you do us a favor and leave a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get this podcast? It all helps to spread the word about the great things happening right here in Cookeville.
And I want to thank my friend Susan Luna Hazelwood again for guest hosting. Thank you all for listening. We're excited to welcome back Shan Stout next week. And in the meantime, you can find all our previous episodes at tntech.edu/collegetowntalk. College Town Talk is presented by Tennessee Tech University in partnership with the Cookeville-Putnam County Visitors Bureau. Your hosts are Jonathan Frank and Shan Stout, and original music is performed by Andrew Buckner. Visit us online at tntech.edu/collegetowntalk.